The wind howled across the endless white desert of snow. The storm was not just cold, was alive, twisting like a beast made of ice and shadows. In the middle of that storm, a single human struggled forward, his heavy boots sinking deep into the snow. His name was Captain Elias Ward, an explorer far from Earth, sent to map this frozen world. But today, he was not thinking about maps. He was thinking only of survival. The sky above him was dark gray. Hiding the pale light of 2 moons, the snow whipped his face. Cutting like 1,000 small knives, every breath burned his lungs. His suit heater blinked a warning low energy if he did not find shelter soon. The storm would bury him alive. He pressed forward, his gloved hand gripping a scanner. The screen flickered with static. The storm interfering with its signals, Elias stopped for a moment, listening. All around him was silence, broken only by the shriek of the wind. Then he heard something. It was faint, almost hidden under the storm. Not the sound of wind. Not the sound of machines. It was softer, thinner, like a cry at first. He thought it was the storm playing tricks on his mind. But then it came again, weak, fragile, desperate, a voice. Or maybe 3 voices. It was impossible, he thought. Nothing could survive under this ice. Yet the sound pulled him forward, step by step, his heart beat faster. Curiosity and fear walked beside him. He dropped to his knees and began to dig. Snow and ice tore at his gloves, but he pushed harder. The cries grew clearer, more real. His breath turned to mist inside his helmet, fogging the glass. Finally, his hand touched something not made of ice. It was smooth, cold, and it glowed faintly under the snow. He brushed away the frost, and a face appeared. Elias froze. It was not human. The skin was pale blue, with faint silver lines running like veins of light. The eyes were closed, lashes white as snow. The lips barely moved, whispering words he could not understand. For a moment, Elias felt fear rise in his chest. But then the face twitched, gasping weakly for air. He dug faster, throwing snow aside with desperate strength. Another face appeared, and then a third. 3 figures lay buried together, side by side, all of them glowing faintly, their breaths shallow, their bodies trembling. They were not corpses. They were alive, but just barely. Elias pulled out his scanner and aimed it at them. The readings were strange, unlike any life form he had seen before. The device could not even identify their species. But the numbers told him one thing clearly. They were dying. If he left them, the storm would finish what the snow had started. He pressed his CUM unit. Trying to call his base, only static replied. The storm was too strong. He was alone, with 3 strange beings at the edge of death. The cries grew weaker. Their voices faded, like fading stars. Elias clenched his jaw. He could turn back, save himself. Or he could try to save them, risk his own life for 3 unknown creatures. His human heart gave him the answer. He bent lower and whispered through his helmet glass, "Hold on. I won't let you die here." With all his strength, he lifted the nearest one into his arms. The figure was light, fragile, as if made of glass and air. He laid her gently on the snow, then freed the second, then the third. Their eyes flickered open for a moment. Glowing with strange light, they looked at him not with fear, but with something like hope. The storm screamed louder, shaking the ground. Snow swirled like knives in the air. Elias had no time. He dragged them toward a small ridge in the ice. There was a hollow space at its base. Half buried, he forced them inside, then crawled in after, shielding the entrance with his own body. Inside the hollow, darkness pressed around them. The only light came from their glowing skin. The sisters lay side by side, their faint voices whispering words he could not understand. But even without the language, he understood their fear. He touched his chest and pointed to them. Safe, he said firmly. Safe now, for the first time since he landed on this frozen world, Elias felt the silence was not empty. It was full of mystery, of secrets waiting to be revealed. He stared at the three alien sisters and wondered, why were they here, buried alive under snow? And why did fate choose him, a lone human explorer, to find them? The storm raged outside, but inside the hollow. A fragile story had just begun. The storm outside screamed like a wild beast, shaking the walls of ice around the hollow inside. Elias knelt close to the three glowing figures, watching their shallow breaths. He could feel the cold pressing deeper into his bones, but he ignored it. His eyes stayed fixed on the strange sisters who had been buried beneath the snow. One of them stirred, her lips moving weakly. A whisper slipped into the air, soft as falling snow. Elias leaned closer, his translator unit humming as it tried to catch the sound. The words were broken, but slowly they became clear. Why? Why did you save us? Elias frowned, his breath fogging against the helmet glass. I could not leave you there, he answered. His voice steady, the sister opened her eyes. Glowing silver in the dim hollow, her gaze held sadness deeper than the frozen world outside. Beside her, the second sister groaned. Her thin fingers trembling, her skin flickered with faint light, as if her body was fighting to stay alive. The third did not speak, but her eyes opened slowly, watching Elias with quiet intensity. Three sisters, fragile yet alive, tied together by some hidden fate. Elias pressed his scanner against the first sister's chest. The device shook with unstable readings. Symbols flashing red. Their heartbeats were irregular, their cells collapsing from the cold. They needed warmth, energy, protection, but more than that, they needed hope. The first sister whispered again, her voice thin but sharp. We were not meant to live. Elias froze. What do you mean? He asked, leaning closer. The second sister coughed, her voice like broken glass. Our people? They buried us here. Because we cannot create life. Elias felt a chill colder than the storm passed through him. Infertile, she continued, her eyes glowing dimly in our world. Children must bring new children, or they are called cursed. Her voice broke, and tears froze on her cheeks before they could fall. We were born wrong. So they gave us to the snow. The hollow felt smaller, darker as her words sank in. Elias clenched his fists, anger sparking in his chest. To bury them alive for such a reason, it was cruelty beyond reason. His human heart burned with rage. No one deserves death for something they cannot control, he said firmly. The sisters looked at him with disbelief, as if they had never heard such words before. The third sister finally spoke, her voice calm but heavy, human. You are different. Elias tilted his head, surprised. You risked yourself to free us, she continued. In our people's law, even family would not have touched us. Her silver eyes narrowed, studying his face as if searching for his soul. The storm above them thundered, snow breaking loose from the ridge. Elias glanced at the hollow's entrance. Knowing their time was short, he tapped his wrist device. Pulling up a small energy pack, he connected it to his heater and placed it near the sisters. Warmth spread through the icy air, weak but enough to keep them breathing. The second sister gasped, color returning to her glowing cheeks. Her hand reached out, touching his glove lightly. Why? Do you care? She asked, her voice shaking. Elias looked at her, his jaw tight. Because life matters, he said simply. Her eyes widened at the simplicity of his answer. It was not the answer of her people, it was something new. Something dangerous. Minutes passed, the hollow trembling with each roar of the storm. Elias tried to think, his mind racing. He could not stay here long. But carrying them through the storm would be madness. His supplies were running low, his oxygen thin. Yet his heart refused to abandon them. The first sister shifted weakly, her glowing hand brushing against the wall of ice. Strange marks appeared, carved by her touch. Symbols of light shimmered on the wall. Elias stared in shock as the hollow glowed with alien patterns. "What are you doing?" he asked. She answered with a faint smile. "Our minds are weak, but we still hold power. We can show you who we are." The walls filled with images, visions of their world. He saw great cities of crystal towers, skies filled with silver clouds, but he also saw shadows, rituals, and the cruel moment when the sisters were led into the snow, the people around them chanting that they were cursed. His chest tightened as the truth unfolded before his eyes. The sisters turned their glowing eyes to him. "You saved us," the first said, her voice stronger now. "But our people will come. They will not let us live." Her warning echoed in the hollow. Sharper than the storm outside, Elias felt the weight of their words. He was only one man, far from Earth, with failing supplies. Yet something inside him refused to give up. He had found them, and fate had tied their lives together. He knew there was no turning back. The storm outside raged like a hungry beast. But inside the hollow, another storm was awakening. Elias had discovered not just 3 sisters. He had discovered a secret that would change everything. The storm above the hollow calmed for a moment, but the silence it left behind was heavier than the snow itself. Inside, Elias sat with the 3 alien sisters, the dim glow of their skin painting strange light across the icy walls. They were breathing better now, their eyes brighter, their voices clearer. But their story was only beginning, and Elias could feel danger in every word. The first sister spoke slowly, her voice carrying both sorrow and strength. "You saved us, human, but you must know who we are, or else you will not understand the danger that follows." Elias leaned forward, his helmet removed now, trusting the thin warmth of his heater. His breath misted in the cold air as he listened. The second sister continued, her voice softer. "In our world, every child is tested at birth, their blood examined, their future written." Her glowing eyes darkened. "When they saw we were infertile, they said we were broken, unworthy." Elias clenched his jaw, anger rising again. He had seen harsh cultures before, but never one that destroyed its own children for such a reason. "Your people are advanced," he said, remembering the visions of crystal towers he had seen on the ice wall. "How can they still believe in such cruelty?" The third sister looked at him, her gaze sharp as a blade. "Because tradition is stronger than mercy," she whispered. "Every generation is taught that survival depends on creation. Those who cannot give life are called death-bringers." Her words echoed in the hollow like a curse. Elias shook his head. "On Earth, we once had cultures that believed in such things too," he admitted. "But they learned, slowly, painfully, that every life has value." The sisters looked at him with confusion, as if the idea was foreign. The first sister asked, "On your world, even the weak are allowed to live?" Elias nodded firmly. "Yes, because weakness today may become strength tomorrow." The sisters exchanged glances. As though trying to imagine such a world, the second sister leaned against the icy wall, her glowing hand tracing symbols again. The light spread wider this time, showing more visions. Elias saw a great hall where leaders in silver robes stood high above the people. Their voices thundered with law, their faces cold with judgment. He saw the sisters kneeling before them, their hands bound in chains of light. Crowds shouted, "Cursed! Cursed!" their voices cruel and unending. Elias's stomach tightened as he watched. The second sister whispered, "Our parents tried to hide us, but the law found us. They dragged us to the snow, buried us alive, and walked away singing songs of purity." The hollow grew colder with the memory. Elias felt a weight pressing on his chest. But beneath his anger, something else stirred resolve. These sisters had been thrown away, but he would not let them be lost. The third sister's eyes glimmered. "You must understand, human," she said. "Our people are not only cruel, they are powerful if they learn we still live. They will come with fire and ice to finish their judgment. And you," she paused, her gaze piercing him, "you will be destroyed with us." Elias's heart pounded. He knew she was right, yet turning back was no longer possible. "You said your minds hold power," he said quickly. Remembering how the symbols had glowed, "Show me what else you can do. Show me what makes you dangerous in their eyes." The sisters hesitated, then the first raised her hand. The air in the hollow shifted, heavy and strange. The ice trembled as her mind reached outward. Elias felt pressure inside his skull, a weight of thought not his own. Then visions flooded his mind skies, torn apart by warships. Oceans boiling with fire, cities collapsing in silence. It was not just their memory, it was their prophecy. Their people believed the infertile could not create life, but instead they carried visions of destruction. "Seers," Elias whispered, his voice trembling. "You are not cursed, you are prophets." The sisters looked at him. Startled, "No one has called us that," the second said softly. "They only call us empty." Elias shook his head fiercely. "No, you are more than that. You are more than they fear." Outside, the storm howled again, snow hammering the ridge. The hollow shook as if warning them. The third sister whispered, "They will come. They always come for what they fear." Elias gripped his weapon, the weight of it steady in his hand. "Then let them come," he said firmly. "They will learn that not all humans fear tradition. Some of us fight it." The sisters stared at him, their glowing eyes reflecting both hope and fear. For the first time since their birth, someone had spoken to them not as curses, but as beings with worth in that frozen hollow. A fragile bond was forged, one human, three sisters, and a secret that could shake a world. The storm roared louder, but Elias no longer heard only danger. He heard the beginning of war, and he knew there was no turning back. The hollow trembled as the storm returned with savage fury. Snow pounded the walls, and sharp winds howled through every crack. Elias knew the shelter would not hold for long. The glowing sisters pressed close together, their faint warmth fighting against the bitter cold. He checked his scanner, its red lights blinking with warnings. Oxygen low, power almost drained, and the storm growing worse. If he stayed here, they would all die. He had no choice, he had to move. "We cannot stay," Elias said firmly, pulling his pack onto his shoulders. The first sister looked up, her silver eyes wide. "The storm will kill us," she whispered. Elias shook his head, determination burning in his voice. "No, staying here will kill us. Out there is the only chance we have." The third sister tilted her head, her voice calm but heavy. "You do not understand, human. The storm is not the only danger. Our people will sense us. They will follow the trail of our light." Elias's jaw tightened. He had expected danger, but hearing it confirmed made his chest heavy. Still, he refused to turn back. He pulled out 3 small emergency blankets. Wrapping them around the sisters, their glowing skin dimmed under the reflective material, making them harder to spot. "Stay close," he ordered. "Move when I move. No matter what happens, do not stop." The sisters nodded weakly, their trust now resting in him. He pushed open the snow-packed entrance, the storm slamming into him like a hammer. Snow whipped around, blinding his vision, step by step. They moved into the chaos, Elias in front, the 3 sisters following, their small frames staggering against the wind. Every step was a battle. The snow reached to their knees, then their waists, The wind clawed at their faces. Tearing at their strength, Elias gritted his teeth, forcing one boot forward, then the other. Behind him, the sisters clung to each other, their voices faint but steady. After what felt like hours, his scanner beeped softly. A faint signal, an old research station half a kilometer away. Hope sparked in his chest. If we reach that station. "We survived this night," he shouted over the storm. The sisters nodded, though their faces were pale and trembling. But the storm was not their only enemy through the snow. Elias spotted strange flickers of light. At first, he thought it was lightning. Then he saw the shape-stall figures moving against the wind, their eyes glowing like cold fire. The sisters gasped in terror. "They found us," the second whispered. Her voice shaking, Elias turned sharply. Raising his weapon, shapes advanced in the distance, moving with unnatural speed through the storm. The sisters clung to him, their breaths quickening. "They will not stop," the first said. "They will finish what they started." Elias's heart pounded. He could not fight an army in this storm, but he could not surrender either. "Run," he ordered, his voice fierce. The sisters hesitated, fear in their eyes. "Run." Elias shouted again, grabbing the nearest one and pulling her forward. They stumbled into the blizzard, snow swallowing their shapes. The research station's signal grew closer, but so did the hunters. Flashes of light cut through the storm beams from their weapons. The snow around Elias hissed and melted where the beams struck. He threw himself forward, shielding the sisters with his body. Every second was survival, every breath a fight. The third sister, her calm face twisted in strain, raised her hand. Her skin glowed brighter under the blanket. The snow around them shifted, rising like a wall. The hunter's beams struck the snow, exploding into clouds of ice. Her power was weak, but it was enough to delay them. "Keep moving." Elias roared. They pushed forward, stumbling, falling, rising again. The research station's outline finally appeared through the storm, a dark shape half buried in snow. Elias's heart leaped, but the hunters were closing in, their glowing eyes burning closer. The second sister fell. Her body too weak, Elias grabbed her. Lifting her into his arms, the other two pulled at his suit, helping as much as their fragile bodies could. Every step felt impossible. But the sight of the station kept him alive. A blast struck the ground beside them. Snow and ice exploding upward, the sisters screamed, their voices piercing through the storm. Elias pushed harder, his muscles burning. The station's door was just ahead. Frozen shut, he slammed his fist against it, his gloves cracking under the impact. "Open." He shouted, his voice breaking. The first sister crawled forward, her glowing hand pressing against the frozen lock. Light spread from her touch. The metal groaning as it melted, the door hissed open. And Elias shoved the sisters inside. He turned one last time, firing his weapon blindly into the storm. Shadows flinched, then vanished into the blizzard. He slammed the door shut, his chest heaving inside. Silence wrapped around them, broken only by the sound of their gasps. The station was dark, abandoned, but still standing. Elias leaned against the wall, his body shaking. The sisters huddled together, their glowing eyes filled with fear and something else. For the first time, they looked at him with a fragile spark of hope. The storm raged outside, and the hunters were not far. But inside the frozen station, Elias knew one thing clearly. He had escaped the storm. But the true fight was only beginning. The abandoned research station groaned under the weight of the storm. Rust creaked in the frozen beams. Dust swirled in the faint glow from Elias's helmet lamp. The sisters huddled together, their eyes glowing softly in the dark. For a moment, it felt safe. But deep in his chest, Elias knew safety would not last. He activated the station's main console, its cracked screen flickering to life. The power cells were weak but still breathing, enough for heat, light, and scanners. He adjusted the sensors, searching the storm outside. The readings made his blood run cold, several signals closing in fast. Their energy patterns unlike anything human. The hunters were out there, circling like wolves in the snow. Elias turned to the sisters, his jaw tight. "They've found us," he said. The first sister's eyes dimmed. They never stop. "They will track us until we are gone," the second sister whispered. "They will kill you too for helping us." Elias gave a sharp nod. "Then we make sure they don't catch us." The sisters exchanged glances. Fear etched across their pale faces. The third sister, always the calmest, stepped forward. "There is more you must know. Human, we are not helpless, but the power we carry. It comes at a price." Elias stared at her, his pulse quickening. "You mean the snow walls? The visions?" The third nodded slowly. "Yes, but stronger. Our minds can bend the storm, twist the air, break the thoughts of enemies, but each time we use it, our bodies weaken. We were never meant to survive long." Elias's throat tightened. They were fragile, dying, yet carrying weapons of the mind their people feared. It was not weakness that had condemned them, but strength too dangerous for tradition. "We use what we must," Elias said firmly, "even if it costs us. It's better than waiting here to die." The storm outside began to fade. The hunters using the brake to move closer. Elias shut down the heaters, the lights. Leaving only the faint glow of the sister's skin, darkness swallowed the station. The silence pressed against his ears until every breath felt too loud. Then came the first sound footsteps, heavy and slow, crunching over ice. The metal walls vibrated as something massive brushed against them. The sisters clung to each other, their breaths sharp. The first whispered, "They are here." Elias gripped his rifle, his heart hammering. A beam of cold blue light cut across the window, sweeping the inside of the station. He pulled the sisters lower, pressing them into the shadows. The hunters moved like shadows wrapped in armor, their eyes glowing pale fire. There were 6, maybe more, surrounding the station. Waiting, listening, hunting, the second sister pressed her hand to the wall, her skin glowing brighter. "Let me try," she whispered. Elias caught her wrist, his voice low but fierce. "They'll see you," she shook her head, determination burning in her dim eyes, "if we do nothing. They will take us." Before he could stop her, light pulsed from her hand. The walls of the station shimmered, then vanished from sight. Elias gasped. From outside, the station now looked like an empty block of ice. The hunters moved past it, scanning, their beams slicing the storm. For a moment, the illusion held. Then the second sister gasped, collapsing into Elias's arms. Her body was weak, trembling from the effort. He held her tight, whispering, "You did well. You bought us time," but the hunters were clever. One stopped, turning its head, its glowing eyes narrowing. It let out a shriek that split the storm. The others answered, their voices rising in a chorus that chilled Elias's blood. The station shook under the sound. Cracks forming in the ice outside, the illusion broke. The hunters closing in, "Move." Elias shouted, pulling the sisters toward the back hatch. They stumbled into the snow again, the cold biting worse than knives behind them. Beams of blue light tore through the station. Ripping it apart, metal screamed, ice shattered. Flames hissed in the snow. The hunters had destroyed their shelter in seconds. The sisters ran, their glowing eyes filled with terror. Elias fired back blindly, each shot exploding in the snow. The storm began to rise again, clouds twisting above as if answering the chaos. The first sister lifted her hand, and the wind bent around them. Snow thickened, a wall of white masking their flight. Her body shook, her breath ragged, but she forced the storm to obey. The hunters roared in frustration, their beams scattering through the blizzard. Elias dragged the second sister forward, the third pushing from behind. Every step was a fight, but the chase had begun. There would be no rest now, no pause, only running, only hiding. Only surviving. At last, they stumbled into a deep ravine. Walls of ice shielding them from sight. Elias pushed the sisters down, his chest heaving. The hunters' cries echoed above, searching, circling, for now. They were hidden, but Elias knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The hunters would never stop. Not until the three sisters were erased, and he with them. The ravine walls stretched high above them. Sharp ice cliffs glowing under the pale moons. Elias crouched low, his breath sharp in the frozen air. The sisters pressed against him, their glowing eyes wide. They could hear the hunters moving above, their heavy footsteps shaking the ice. For hours, the hunters circled like wolves, their cries echoing across the storm. Each sound grew closer, tighter, until escape seemed impossible. The sisters trembled, their strength nearly gone after using their powers. Elias tightened his grip on his rifle, his jaw hard with resolve. Finally, silence fell. The storm eased. The wind calmed. Elias frowned. The sudden stillness was worse than the howling wind. It was the silence of hunters who had found their prey. A sharp light split the sky, beams striking down into the ravine. The ice walls glowed as shadows descended 6 hunters, tall as giants, wrapped in armor like living stone. Their eyes burned cold, weapons raised. The sisters cried out, pressing close together. The leader stepped forward, its voice like grinding metal. "Return the cursed human, and we will let you die quickly." Elias raised his rifle, his voice steady. "You'll have to walk through me first." The hunters laughed, a chilling sound that cracked the air. "You are nothing," the leader sneered. One human cannot fight the will of a people. But Elias did not move, his feet planted firm in the snow. His rifle aimed steady. The sisters looked at him, their eyes shining with a fragile light. No one had ever stood for them before. Now a stranger did. The hunters moved forward, their weapons glowing. Elias fired first, the beam slamming into the nearest hunter. The blast knocked it back, but did not kill it. The others roared, firing together. Blue fire rained across the ravine, ice shattering, snow exploding. Elias dove to shield the sisters, the ground trembling under the fury. One beam grazed his arm. Searing through armor into flesh, he gritted his teeth. Refusing to cry out, pain burned hot. But his will burned hotter. He rose again, firing back. Each shot echoing against the cliffs. The first sister raised her hand, her silver eyes blazing. The snowstorm twisted, wind screaming down into the ravine. The hunters staggered, their beams scattered in the blizzard. The second sister joined, her hands glowing. The ice walls cracked and shifted, spears of frozen rock breaking loose. Crashing down on their enemies, the third sister stood last. Her voice soft but steady. She closed her eyes, and the world seemed to still. Elias felt a pressure in his mind, heavy and vast. Then he heard her voice not in his ears, but inside his thoughts. "I can break them, but it may break me too." Elias turned, his face pale. "No, don't," he said quickly. But she stepped forward, her body glowing brighter, brighter. Until the ravine shone like dawn, the hunters staggered, clutching their heads, roaring in pain. Her power slammed into their minds like a storm of fire. Their weapons fell, their eyes flickered, their bodies trembling as if struck by lightning. But the cost was heavy. The third sister collapsed, blood freezing on her lips, her body flickering like a fading flame. No, Elias shouted. Dropping to her side, the first and second screamed, their voices sharp with terror. Yet even as she fell, the third smiled weakly. "We are not cursed. We are chosen," she whispered. The hunters staggered. Weakened, but not gone, the leader rose again. Fury burning in its pale eyes. "You will all die here," it growled. Elias lifted his rifle once more. His hands shaking, the sisters stood beside him. Their glow faint, but unbroken. Together they faced the towering figure. The leader charged, the ground shattering under its weight. Elias fired, the beam tearing across its chest. The first sister screamed, hurling the storm into its path. The second raised walls of ice. Spears striking from every side, the leader stumbled, then fell with a roar that shook the ravine. Silence followed, broken only by their ragged breaths. Elias dropped to his knees beside the third sister. Her glow flickered weakly. He pressed her cold hand against his chest. "Stay with me," he begged. Her eyes fluttered. Her voice no more than a whisper. "You saved us. Now we save you." Her light dimmed, and the ravine grew quiet. The hunters lay defeated, broken in the snow. But the cost was written in the silence of the third sister's body. The storm above calmed at last. The moons breaking through the clouds, Elias looked at the surviving sisters, their eyes filled with grief and fire. This was no longer only survival. This was war. And the final battle had just begun. The ravine was silent now. The storm had broken. The hunters lay scattered in the snow like broken statues. But victory did not feel like triumph. It felt like grief. Elias knelt beside the third sister. Her light dimmed to a faint shimmer. Her body was cold in his arms, her breathing shallow. The first and second sisters wept softly, their glowing tears falling into the snow for the first time in their lives. They had fought back against the cruelty of their people, and the cost had been one of their own. Elias touched her pale face, whispering, "Stay with us." Her lips moved faintly. "You showed us a different path," she breathed. Then her glow faded, her body stilled. The silence that followed cut deeper than any storm. The first sister collapsed against Elias's shoulder, her voice breaking. She was our calm, our guide. The second clung to her, her sobs echoing in the frozen air. Elias closed his eyes, pain burning in his chest. He had fought wars, lost soldiers, buried friends, but losing her felt different. It was not just death, it was the ending of something rare and precious. Yet even in grief, the world kept moving. The scanner on his wrist blinked, weak signals flickering across the screen. More hunters scattered, retreating. But not gone. They would return, stronger. This battle was over, but the war had only begun. The sisters lifted their heads, their eyes red with grief, yet glowing faint with strength. "What now?" "Human." The first asked, her voice shaking. Elias looked at the broken hunters, the shattered ravine, the still body of the third sister. He breathed deeply, then spoke. "Now we keep moving. We carry her with us. Not in body, but in purpose. They called you cursed, but you are proof of something greater. We cannot give them what they want, your silence, your death. We will show them that the future cannot be buried under snow." The second sister's eyes widened, her glow flickering stronger. "But where would we go? Our people will never take us back." Elias's gaze turned toward the distant stars. "Then we don't go back, we go forward." They looked at him, confusion and hope tangled in their faces. He explained, "On Earth, there are ships, colonies, places far beyond this world. You will not be hunted there. Not cursed, you will be free. And maybe, just maybe, you will teach us something we have forgotten." The sisters held each other, their grief slowly shaping into fragile hope. But as Elias spoke, the first sister stiffened. Her hand pressed against the snow. Light spilling from her skin, the ground beneath them glowed, and symbols formed once more, but these were not visions of the past. They were visions of the future. Elias saw flashes cities rebuilt, worlds lit by strange suns, humans and aliens standing together. And then, something stranger, the third sister, alive again. Her glow brighter than ever, but she was not the same. Her body was made of light, not flesh. Her presence was not bound by blood, but by thought. The first gasped. "She is with us," she whispered. The second trembled. Not gone. Changed. Elias stared in awe. The third sister's sacrifice had not ended her. It had transformed her. Her infertility, once a curse, was now a doorway not to birth of flesh, but to creation of spirit. The sister's eyes blazed with new strength. "We are not empty," the first said firmly. "We carry a power our people feared. They buried us because they could not understand." The second added, "And now they will learn." Elias rose, his rifle heavy in his hands, but his heart lighter than before. He looked at the two living sisters and the shimmering vision of the third. Together, they were no longer cursed children. They were a spark of evolution, and he, a lone human, had become their shield. The sky above cleared, the two moons shining down on the ravine. Elias raised his head, whispering to the frozen night, "This is not the end. This is the beginning." The sisters stood beside him, their glow stronger than ever. The hunters had failed. The storm had passed. But the true journey lay ahead. Together they would face it, not as cursed children, not as a broken human soldier, but as something new, something the universe was not ready for. And somewhere far away, their people stirred. Sensing what had been born in the storm, fear would rise, war would come. But hope had risen too, and hope was stronger than snow.